A what? Oh, God, it's so sneaky. Um, what are they talking about? Oh yeah, so okay, so I can give you two stories. So, uh, story number one is kind of funny, but also kind of sad. But so my all right, so when we were living in California, this is back when I actually both these stories involved when I was 5 years old. So, uh, just one time, my dad went fishing in the canal and he caught a huge river catfish. Now, this thing was basically bigger than me. Like, this is a really big catfish. It basically was the full length of the bathtub. And the reason I know that is because my dad came home from fishing. He caught that big catfish and he put it in the upstairs bathtub. And I just remember him filling the tub. He put the fish in there, and my first reaction was, "This is our first pet ever. We actually have a pet fish. Oh my god, it's a huge catfish. I love this catfish." And I started petting it, and I was like, "He's squishy. I'm gonna name him Kitty. This is Mr. Kitty." I named the catfish and everything as I was just sitting there in the bathtub in the water. So me and my brother, we go in the backyard, and we're playing and stuff like that because you're kids, what we do. And also our mom and dad just say, "Hey boys, come in, come in for dinner. Let's go. It's dinner time." So I was like, "All right." We go in, we eat dinner, and then after I finish my meal, I go upstairs. I'm like, "I'll go pet Mr. Kitty." All of a sudden, I go to the bathtub and there's no catfish, and I'm like, "Where's Mr. Kitty at? That was a big fish. Where is he?" And then my dad goes, "You ate him. That catfish was dinner." And I was like, "We ate Mr. Kitty." So, again, being 5 years old, and now I'm crying because I'm like, that was a horrible thing to do. You made us eat our pet. And of course, my dad, he has no sympathy for us. He's just, that wasn't a pet. That was food. I'm like, but I named him Mr. Kitty. So, anyway, long story short, mom felt really bad at the fact that we ate the fish that my dad caught. So she's like, "Let's go to a pet store." So she bought us two gerbils. We had a male and female gerbil, and we put them in like a little bird cage. So now we're like, okay, this is a second attempt for a pet. We named it Mr. and Mrs. Gerbil. And of course, me and my brother were like, hey, this is kind of cool. Little gerbils, they're so fuzzy, yay. And again, we're living in California, so me being, I love animals. Like, hey, Mr. and Mr. Gerbil might want some fresh air. So we took the bird cage and I put it on the floor outside in the backyard. They're still in the cage. So, they don't get loose. They're still in the cage. So, I put the cage on the floor so they can get some fresh air and stuff like that while me and my brother are playing again. It's time to come inside, because it's getting late. I forget the cage outside overnight. So the first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh no. I left Mr. and Mrs. Gerbils outside in the backyard in the cage. Oh no, let me go get them. I go downstairs and get to the screen door, and when I open the glass screen before I open the other screen door, I hear a little rattling sound. And I look at the cage. There is a baby rattlesnake, a baby diamondback rattlesnake, and he is stuck in the cage. And I'm like, where's our gerbils at? The snake ate both our gerbils and had two lumps in its body, and because of the lumps, it couldn't get out through the bars of the cage. So, rattlesnake ate our second attempt for pets, and we're like, "Oh no! Now we gotta call the snake guy." So he takes the cage with the snake in it, and we're like, "Man, we're just not having any luck with any pets." So the third attempt, that's when my mom was like, "We're driving down the road, and someone's giving away free puppies." That's when we had our first dog. Had her for 16 years. Hey, so we actually had a real pet. So that's a good end to that one. Let's see. Okay, and then story number 2 involving when I was 5 in California. It's a creepy one. It's spoopy. So this is when Dad was away at war. me, mom, and my brother, we would always come down this one highway, and on each side of the highway it was like a pine tree forest. You know, it was a really big forest. We would always take this highway to get home. And on the one side of the highway, it's kind of like if I can remember correctly, it's like a slope. And there's this little rest stop, and it's like it has at least 5 or 6 parking spaces. And we would go there every time we drive down that road because there's this little halfway spiral staircase, and if you walk down these wooden stairs, at the bottom is like a kind of like a wishing well. It's like a really old well. And what we would do is we had this thing that we would do. We'll park before we get home, go down to the well, toss a penny in there, wishing for our dad's safe return, because, you know, he's away at war. The very last time we went to that well, I remember there was no other cars parked there. My mom pulls in, and I was the first one out of the car. And, you know, we always come to this well, so I already know where I was going. I got a car, and I start making my way down the stairs. Before I can get all the way down, I start hearing like a man crying. Like it's really sad. Like I'm just hearing this guy crying. It's hard to explain, but it's like just crying, like really sobbing, like this person's in pain. And as I'm making my way around the corner, I step on a little branch. No, hold on. I didn't step on a branch yet. I think when I looked around the corner, it was like a silhouette of a man, and it was like a blue, hazy kind of mist. But you can make it out. It's a silhouette of a man sitting, and he was in like a fetal position because he was crying. And it basically a ghost. So I'm seeing this hazy looking outline of a guy in fetal position crying, and I can hear it clear as day. Like my brother was coming up behind me, like he was coming downstairs too. He told me too. He can actually hear it crying too. We're both hypersensitives. But I just remember as I make my way down a little more, as I'm looking at this thing that I couldn't understand, that's when I stepped on a branch, and when I made a noise, it looked at me, and you can see he had no eyes. It was just black, and the mouth was all black. And it was like really creepy for 2 seconds. It stared at me, and then the mist fell into the well. And when I saw it fall into the well, that's when I leaned back into my brother and I started screaming. I said, go, back to the car, run. And my brother didn't even hesitate. We both just ran up the stairs. And then my mom's like, because she was at the top of the stairs about to come down too, she's like, what's wrong, boys? What's going on? And I'm like, get back to the car. We gotta go. There's this creepy thing I saw. And, you know, no hesitation. We're about to get a car. And then, again, like in the beginning of the story, was a pine tree forest. On top of the car, now you know how if I can explain it properly, you know how little pine needles, they dangle from a spider web and they just float like that. There's these 2 little pine needles, looking like legs, kinda, and it was dangling on top of the car, and we all saw it. And my mom goes like this, thinking there was a spider web, but when she went like this, like my hand would be the pine needles, she goes like this, and they're still floating above the car straight up. So again, she's like, okay, we're getting out of here, because they were just hovering, levitating above the car. And we all at least witnessed that. I'm the one that saw the ghost. My brother heard a little bit what I saw, and then my mom and the rest of us witnessed the floating pine needles. And then after that, we just got in the car, pulled away, and we left and never went back. That was my very first ghost.
No.
People can still go there, but it's just a really old well. Like if I remember the highway and all that, I could probably bring it up in Google Maps. If I can remember the place, like yeah. So if I can find a place. That's in California. I have to go across the state to record that. The only one that's close enough will be Tommy. Tommy was the only one close enough to probably get there.
Yeah.
If I can get the address and the highway and all that information for you, Tommy, yes, I will send the information to Tommy, and Tommy can go there and record it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, I can
Eh.
stay. I can. What I'm thinking is that I could get a hotel or something for 3 nights, and I can go there every
Thomas
single
going
night
on
until I.
he's gonna take a
find
road trip.
something.
Road trip finds well, and well, again, this is back when I was 5 years old, though, so you gotta remember if it's still there, because you don't know if they redid road work and stuff like that over the years. So if it's still there, and let's say my mother can remember, because she was the one that took us there
Wait,
every
how
day.
old are you now? Wait, how old are you now?
Are you still recording? Tell everyone my age online.